everybody, Jessica here today to continue on with our foot and ankle month for the month of July. I am going to be expanding a little bit today on an aspect of our foot and ankle health that a lot of our patients are made aware of through various sources, whether it's doctor or friends or whoever who's told them about this issue that they have or that they think they might have, and how that impacts their daily lives, but they don't really know whether it's going to affect their therapy, their shoe wear, what they should do about it going forward. So what I'm going to be talking about is actually our arches, the arch of your foot. We have a lot of patients come in who say, I was told I have high arches, or was told I have a flat foot, my arch is really low, but they don't really know what that means for them. So I wanted to expand a little bit on that topic, and more specifically how that issue affects our shoe wear. We're often asked, what kind of shoe is going to be best for my high arches, or what kind of shoe should I be wearing if I have a flat foot, and how that can affect your daily life or your therapy if you are in physical therapy. So first, let me start by talking a little bit about high arches. This is something that we don't see quite as often, but it can have implications on your foot and ankle health. So what that means is the arch on the inside of your foot is really high. So instead of being kind of flat or even neutral, it does carry a much more rounded look to it. And that can have implications on the amount of stress that you're putting on the balls and the heel of your feet, because those that take a lot of the impact. When your arch is really high, those are the 2 points that hit the ground the first and they hit the ground the hardest. So when you do have those really high arches, people tend to get pain in the balls of their feet or in their heels. It can also lead to having hammer toes, just because of that excessive curve leads to an excessive curve in the toes as well. And those hammer toes are tightening of the tendons just because of the unnatural shape of the foot there. It can also cause calluses on the heels or the ball of the foot, again, just because there is a lot of stress that's placed on those parts of the foot. You can also have pain in the heels and the ball with weight bearing. So even just standing, people will say, I'm standing at the kitchen counter, or I'm doing the dishes and the balls of my feet hurt, or the heels of my feet hurt, or both. This can also cause an issue with your heel falling outwards. So what that means is your ankle kind of rolls out to the side, and that can have an issue with instability in the foot. It can lead to rolling your ankle a lot, and that might be something that someone's had an issue with for a long time and never really put two and two together, that I roll my ankles all the time. But it's because your foot is kind of at this weird angle. You have this really high arch that tilts your foot outwards, which can roll your ankle outwards. So that might be part of the issue as well. The next thing I want to talk about is that more flat foot issue that people have. This causes a lot of stress on the middle part of your foot. So right through that arch is usually where people will feel more of a problem if their arch is low. Every time they take a step, it stretches out that bottom of the foot and can cause issues in the plantar fascia. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about plantar fasciitis, and a lot of the times people have a flat foot, or at least a lowered arch in that foot with the plantar fascia. And if you've ever had plantar fasciitis, you know that can be incredibly painful. Some other issues we find with people that have a flat foot are inflammation of the tendons in the foot and ankle, because they are being stretched all the time. Every time you take a step, they're being stretched beyond the point that they should be. So it can cause a lot of inflammation in the foot and just a lot of discomfort. You can also have heel pain with this one as well, just like with the high arches, except this is more towards the inside of the heel, because your foot tends to fall inwards when you have a flat foot versus outwards with a high arch. The ankle tends to roll in and causes a lot of pressure on the inside of the heel. So people will complain about medial side or inside heel pain, and then of course pain along that arch. They also have issues with just aching and fatigue in the foot. So they'll, at the end of the day, say, my feet are just tired, they're just sore after being on my feet all day. It's usually because there's an unusual amount of stress being placed, especially along that inside part of the foot, that the foot just feels tired and sore, and they can't wait to get home and put their feet up. Something else we do see with the flat foot, more so than the high arched foot, is that people will complain of knee pain or hip pain or back pain because of the way that that foot falls inwards while you're standing when you're in weight bearing. It causes a lot more medial stress or inside stress in your knees and hips, and just that angle that it puts you at is not great alignment for the rest of the lower leg, it can affect all the way up the knees, the hips, and the back. So usually when we have people in here for flat feet issues, we do have to work our way up the leg as well with strengthening and correcting that alignment. But that does start all the way down at the foot. So that is something to look at if you are also having back or knee or hip pain. As far as the implications that having a high arch or a flat foot has on your shoe wear, they are different things you should be looking for, especially if you're looking at athletic shoes. If you have the high arches, because it does put a lot of stress on that front and back part of the foot, the heel and the ball of the foot, you're going to want to look for something that has a little more cushion in it. Because every time you take a step and it's just a lot of pressure on the heel and the ball of the foot, you're going to want something that has more cushion in those parts of the shoe. So in the ball part of the shoe and the heel part of the shoe, you want something a little bit softer, something that can take up that shock absorption for you. Is when you do have those high arches, your foot does not do great at its shock absorption on its own. So especially if you're doing any kind of running activity, a lot of weight bearing in those shoes, you're going to want something that provides a little more cushion to make it more comfortable for you. When you have the flat foot, you're going to want to look for almost the opposite of that. You're going to want something that provides a little more support rather than being soft. You want it to give you a little bit of lifting support in that arch of your foot where it is falling. You want it to give you a little bit of lift, a little more support, and that can be a lot more comfortable for you. So whereas the arch you need cushion, the high arch you want cushion. If you have flat foot, you need support. So when you're out looking at shoes, especially athletic shoes for whatever sport or activity is you're looking at, you do want to mention to whoever's helping you out at the shoe store that you do have these issues and you're looking for a specific thing in that shoe. Hopefully this video helped you a little bit to know what kind of shoe you should be looking for, or maybe some things to ask the associate at the store who's helping you, that you want specific aspects in your shoe, and now you know what to be looking for. If you have any questions, as always, please leave them down below in the comments and we'll get back to you. And thank you for joining me today.